On? Is it? Oh, hi, everybody. Welcome. I never know when we jump in, but here we are. Welcome, everybody, to Comedy and Crumpets. Thank you for joining us for another episode. My name is Dylan Mandlsohn. I'm coming to you all the way from Toronto, Canada. And my esteemed colleague here is Mr. Pat Treuer, coming to you all the way from the mountains of Colorado.
Yes.
Yes.
All the way up here in the mountains, Breckenridge, Colorado. Thank you for having me on the show that we co-host, Mr. Mandlsohn.
Yes, it's quite nice. We've been doing this for a little bit, and for those of you that are joining us for the first time, we love to hear from you guys. Feel free to message us throughout our show. If you have any questions or comments, like Mr. Ray Turner, welcome back, good sir. Thank you.
Ray, I gotta tell you right off the top, I'm happy to see a message from you. We didn't see you last week. I knew you had a doctor's appointment. I got a little concerned for my cyber fan.
Yep.
Kind of concerned. Our cyber fan.
But we understand, Ray, that everything is good, right? Everything checks out. We certainly hope so here at Comedy and Crumpets. Yes, it's and it's been a heck of a week. Oh, who do we have? Teresh. Hello, is that a nope? Just kidding. That's a side thing. That hasn't even popped up on the screen. There we go. You see, I'm like psychic. Hello. Yes. Welcome to Comedy and Crumpets. Thank you for being our second viewer.
How come you can read the things off screen but not the things on screen?
I have selective reading. It's an unusual disorder that I have. But it exists, and it's a thing that I deal with every day. But yes, so anyway, we would love to hear from you throughout the show. Please don't be shy. We definitely love getting comments from all of our viewers. And it's been a hell of a week. A lot of stuff has happened. And here we go with Ray. Yes, just messed up with my diabetes treatment. It happens. Fine now. That's hilarious. Oh, you were being serious. Sorry, you're being really serious. It's not funny at all. Yes.
My applause was real.
Yes. There you go. Yes, Pat is here to balance out all the nonsense.
Lead us onward and forward, good sir.
Yes. Well, before I jump in to my week, a lot has happened. There's a lot that I want to talk about. Has anything happened with you? Anything to catch up on? Anything you even just want to get off your chest? Any gripes? Any stories? Anything that's happened at all?
You know, it's been a lovely week here in Colorado. The winter is starting to come, so ski season's coming. I'm getting myself prepped, putting on a lot of virtual shows, which is a whole nother element having to deal with. As you start a new endeavor, I always forget about you have to and how
okay.
I've been doing all week, and that's
okay. Correct me if I'm wrong.
So we just leave it there. What have you been up to?
Pat, I don't know if this is just on my end, but you got choppy, and I think we caught none of that. I'm not sure.
Oh, terrific.
Can you hear me okay? Because I don't, in this crazy internet world, I'm not sure, if it's me or if it's you or on what end. But can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Go ahead. Why don't you tell us about your week?
Okay. I'll jump right on in then. So for a good little while now, I've been going back and forth with a talent producer from America's Got Talent. And for actually almost since last September. And I was getting ready to place an audition for the show. And as I got off of a cruise ship, and things kind of like they died down, and all the stages went away, as I think people are aware of. All the comedy just stopped. Well, in America, they woke up again. But here in Toronto, all the stages shut down over the summer, with the exception of an outdoor show that I was able to get on. And I was so happy that I finally had a stage that I could possibly do this audition tape on. It was pitch black at this park. There was this faded, soft spotlight. And I was walking to the stage, and I think I may have told this story, I'm not sure. But as the MC is introducing my name, the spotlight goes out. So now I'm in pitch black, outside, and I can't do the audition, even though it probably wouldn't have showed up anyway. So cut to a week and a half ago. First of all, I'm waiting all summer long for a stage to finally open up. And a week and a half ago, I get a call from Yuck Yuck saying, we have you in Toronto this week and Burlington next week. And the show was Saturday night. On Friday, our premiere decided to cancel, to shut down all entertainment venues. So now I have nothing. This is a great story. Thanks, Scott. Thanks. Hasn't even really heard the end of it. But yes, I can hear you yawning from here, Scott.
Can you hear that?
Yeah, I can hear that.
Okay,
so anyway, I say all that because I finally ended up getting, so after the premiere shut down all the comedy clubs, I finally got another spot. They reopened the following week, and I got to do a set at Yuck Yucks just outside of Toronto. Now, it had been a while since I had done any kind of show, really, and it's funny because I've told these jokes hundreds and hundreds of times, and I ended up faltering on stage. And I realized to myself, I'm not, like, I literally stumbled. I tripped over my words, and I didn't get the bit out properly. And I decided to make a choice that I've never, ever done before on stage. I decided to do the joke again in front of the audience.
No.
Yeah. Now, I happen to have a clip of this entire event because I was taping for the night. So I have it here. It's about 3.5 minutes. Kane, if you're up there, Kane, our God in the sky, show the clip, and you'll see what happened.
Oh my goodness, I almost crash landed. I broke my seatbelt. It was dumb. That tickled. That guy, he almost went to the windshield. Oh my God, I totally screwed up that joke. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do that whole joke again. That's what I'm gonna do. That was just rehearsal. Yeah, for people who are pee breaking, we're going to do that. We're going to wind that up. We're going to do that again, okay? I believe in this. Either that or I don't have a tape to send to HET. So we're going to do this, okay? And your headliner's awesome. So just bear that in mind, okay? Here we go. I'm going to try this. We're going to do this. We're in this together. Okay? I can't. Hang on, let me try that again. This is take 3. This is awesome. I've never bombed like this before. We're going to do this. I can't take care of a kid. I travel for a living. And we have to have a meeting with these airline stewards. Their OCD drives me nuts. You know when you got your bag sticking out from that underneath that seat? You gotta like, oh, for fuck's sake. I know. End career. What's that? Back to the kitchen. How did you know I worked there? I'm going to try this one more time. I know this is excruciating and I apologize. But I can do it. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Black Borat. I appreciate that. You can do it. All right, I'm going to try this one more time. Thank you so much for sticking through me, you guys. I appreciate that, okay? I'm going to take a deep breath. Okay, you've been on set before.
Hold on a second.
What are we doing?
Everybody, table drum roll.
Okay. I can't take care of a kid. I travel for a living, and we have to have a meeting with these airline stewards. Their OCD drives me nuts. You know, you gotta tuck your bag underneath that front seat. It's like stick it out like half an inch. Sir, could you tuck that in? You gotta tuck that in. We're all gonna die. Everybody's gonna die. Could you put your window down before takeoff? Captain can't see. Captain can't see. Is he looking out of my window? They'll wake you up to put your seatbelt on. Like, that's important on an airplane? 300 passengers survived a mountain crash, all wearing their seatbelts. Is that what happened when you crash and around. Oh my goodness, I almost crashed, but I did. I was wearing my seatbelt. Ew, stop. Oh my goodness, that tickles. Oh, I almost spilled my Coke. Stop. It's like I hit under the windshield, not me. I was wearing my seatbelt. Thank you guys. That was awesome. Great. Thank you. Oh my God. Now, if they for some reason show this audition, you're gonna be like, that guy did it. It took him like 10 tries. It took 10 tries. Yeah. It wasn't even funny the first time, but we let him do it.
Are you with us, Pat? Are you there? Anybody? Can anyone see me or hear me? I don't know if this is my end. Hello? Is anyone there? I don't know if anyone's here. I think we may have lost Pat, everybody. Anyway, is that okay? Are you there, bud?
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
Hello.
Hi, can you hear
me?
Are you there? Are you there? I don't know how well we've got Pat right now going on. Well, welcome to the rehearsal for next week's show, everybody. Thank you for joining us. This is great. This is a fun technical difficulty we're having here. Kane, can you talk to me here? Is it my end, or have we lost Pat? I don't know what's happening right now. Anyway, I'll just pretend people can hear me and that it's not on my end. So that's what happened to me this past weekend. I've never done anything like that before. And it really got me thinking about being vulnerable on stage. Because again, I mean, I totally had to take this audience and corral them and make them my own. And it was insane. And it just got me thinking about, I think like it was just where I'd like my comedy to go in that direction, because there was just something so powerful about it. It's so funny as I talk about this, I'm just completely wondering where Pat went. Is anybody else like, we lost him? I don't know. What's happening? I'm scared. Anyone? I don't even know if I'm really even live anymore. I'll be honest with you. This is how like technically unsavvy I am right now. Am I getting anybody right now? Anyone? Bueller?
Can you hear me?
Buddy, I can hear you now. Right on.
Sorry about that, everybody. You want to talk about panic? Oh boy, 2 years of meditating, and I about lost everything on that one.
Yeah, no, it was crazy. I almost thought it was my end too, but thank God you're back. So is everything feeling? You're live. Yes, April. Hello, April. So wonderful to have you. Yeah, so I'm just glad the audience was so supportive. Pat's back. Yay. Yes, Pat's back. The audience was great that night. They were very supportive. I was very excited to like get that take, and that they were like, they had seen me do the full bit before. I just kind of cut it to where I messed up. But Pat, did you? It was awesome.
I saw it. I saw the whole clip. I was able to see it. Amazing job, buddy. Your strength, one of your strengths, is the ability to adapt and move on, and then take advantage of the material in front of you, meaning not anything pre-prepared. Pre-prepared, is that prepared? Prepared. That's the pre. Sure. That's the pre-prepared. 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 And you make the most of it. You're in the moment. You did it. You addressed everything that was happening, because that's a part of it, right? Is just saying out loud what everyone's thinking. Just like our first-time viewers were like, this is going to be the last time I watch a live streaming show. And I'm coming out and you're awkwardly talking to them by yourself. I'm sure you did a great job, but I don't know.
It was great. And there was it felt very powerful to do that and to be able to run through it like that. What do we got, Scott? These crumpets are great. When does the other part take effect. I don't even really know what that means, but thanks for trying.
He's trying to take a knock at us for comedy. That's I don't appreciate that. No, of course. Keep them coming, Scott. We love it, ladies and gentlemen. Scott's one of our regular viewers. He's always going to knock something out of, who knows what we're going to see. But let's get back to the set, man. So the audience seemed to be very receptive.
They were, thank God, they were a really great crowd, and supportive, and it was great. And the thing is I realized that it was being that vulnerable. I had to make that decision right there in the moment, because I knew that this just I wasn't feeling it, and then I stumbled, and I'm like, you know what, we're gonna do this again. Yeah. It was like, I don't know. This is a ship that's already sinking. Maybe we could flush out some of this water enough to get this floating again. But and we did, and it was great.
Wonderful work, man.
Thank you. The thing is that it just got me thinking all week about the vulnerability creatively on stage. How someone can go someplace to take that chance. And I think that it's in that vulnerability that we as artists evolve. And that's where I'm like, this is where I want my comedy to go. Yeah. Like that joke in and of itself. Like a lot of people talk about vulnerability, but they're not vulnerable about it. I'll be honest, like that joke itself, I'm making fun of airline stewards for saying these like ridiculously goofy things. Yep. But the vulnerability of the joke is I could never do that. I would feel so embarrassed if I had to tell somebody, could you just raise your seat before landing? Like, could you just move it up 3 inches? I'd be like, because I don't want to make, like, are they dumb? Yeah. I would feel like such an idiot saying something so stupid and obviously not true. Right. But so I criticize them for it. You know what I mean? But so kudos on them. They're brave.
Well, you gotta listen. You did it with such enthusiasm, and that to me is what I believe to be the difference maker. Because if you were to do it and you were to get angry, you mess up the first one, and you're like, I messed that up. It's supposed to. There's some comedians will take this negative path, and now all of a sudden it becomes not funny and not entertaining, and you're just like, well, I made a mistake. Let's do this, and here we go. So I think that's a difference maker for you. Look at Ray Turner, absolutely the right decision to go again. Great fun. I'd pay to see you. Terrific, wonderful.
Thank you, Ray. Yeah, it was. It really was something. Like it just got me thinking about all the jokes that I've normally done. I've done things to challenge the audience, to antagonize them, to sort of create tension and then release it. I remember doing this one joke where I said, I'd like to tell you why I think black people are really smart. And everyone goes, oh my God, where's he going with this? And then I say, because you've convinced all white people that how we dance is wrong. And everyone's just like, oh, that's adorable. That doesn't hurt anybody. Oh my goodness, this guy, he scared me. I was unnerved a little. Wow.
Yeah. Well, it helps that you're Canadian.
Probably helps that I'm Canadian, but I've done that in all black comedy rooms before, and it's killed because again I'm creating that tension and then releasing it, and it's fun.
Isn't that an interesting element that you can do the same joke in that we'll just say it's a racially based joke? No, nothing negative. Just it's just that's a factor in the joke, and you can do it in like a predominantly black room or a predominantly white room. You can do one that as a white comic speaks about any other population, and you can do that joke in the room where the population you're talking about is present, and you can just smash it out of the park. You do the same joke, the exact same joke, in a room full of white people, and it's a tank, and it's just an absolute bomb. That is something that will never cease to amaze me. And
I think it's because white people are the most uncomfortable with racial humor, partially because of the guilt they feel for creating racism. It's like we created something that got a little out of hand.
Yeah, that's a great.
We cannot apologize enough for that.
Oh yeah, no, don't say any of that. We created all of this.
So you go. I got.
Oh well, I was thinking along the lines here. In the United States currently there's a wonderful organization called the American Civil Liberties Union, the ACLU, and they fight for freedom of speech and equality and many wonderful causes. And one thing on their docket, last time I checked their website, was the debate over reparations and for trying to create an equalizer. And I gotta say, right at first I was like, come on, but that was me being an idiot, not thinking about the historical context of present day and the results of how our society exists. And I was like, yeah, actually, you know what? I'm full on behind it. And I decided to donate to the cause. And then I was thinking about but what kind of problems are going to be created here? Like if one population is to get some sort of, we'll just say a reparation, and there's going to be other ones that say, well, what about us? What about us? And I was thinking about it. I was like, well, really, you're going to have to think about history, right? Because I'm all for reparations for anybody whose ancestors were enslaved or they themselves were enslaved and brought over here. I'm 100% for reparations. Now, anyone who has come over here on their free will, okay, because their terrible country was so awful they had to leave, they're going to have to talk to that government about reparations, right? Like anyone from Mexico or Central America, talk to the Spanish government for the wonderful job they did in conquering and establishing your countries. We don't want to pay for that. That's okay. There's no jokes there. There's one. There's one, and I clearly need to get to it a lot quicker. Just go.
What I'm trying to say is vote Biden.
Vote, 100%. If you haven't figured out who you're voting for by now, you know what? It's time to get a library card. It's time to start reading.
I know we're cooking up a very passionate American here, everybody, and this Canadian, we're polling for you, man. We're polling for you.
Look at Ray Turner here.
I've got work. What does this say? I've worked on stage with a couple of finalists of Britain's Got Talent, and they were good fun. So I hope you get picked for the American one. Well, thank you, Ray. I'm certainly, it would be a wonderful opportunity. But the thing that I was proud of myself that I pulled that off, because again, I've never done that before, and the only reason I really made that decision in that moment is because I don't have any more shows in on the horizon. And I was also on the gun for creating this audition by October 31st. I have no other shows between now and then. So I'm like, if this doesn't happen tonight, there's a big possibility it's not going to happen this year.
Right.
So I got it done, and I was excited about just even the fact that I did it that way. I like that I fought for it. And because I was mixed emotions, I was a little embarrassed by the fact that I messed up, but the fact that I was like, no, we're going to do this. I got to get this. And thankfully that audience was there for me. But it also felt like not just fighting for something, but an evolution in my own vulnerability on stage. That's what sort of the theme of this particular, of today's show is vulnerability. I was thinking a lot about it. There's this really great documentary on Showtime right now, or Crave TV if you have it, and it's called The Comedy Store. And I don't know if you're aware of it, but it discusses shows the history of the Comedy Store, and a lot of the big guns who were there are in this documentary, including Jim Carrey and Damon Wayans and Howie Mandel and Jay Leno, and it's amazing. Yeah. And Letterman. Anyway, the one guy that kind of stood out to me was Andrew Dice Clay. And for those of you that don't know Andrew Dice Clay, he was one of the biggest comedians ever. He sold out Madison Square Garden, but he was doing this, character, and he was really a shock value comic. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, he just fell off. His career just ended. He was making fun of homosexuals, and at the time, they were like, this is not acceptable. Yeah. And he just dropped. But he never evolved. He never got deeper into who he was. He's still doing the Dice Man today. And I just thought that was a really interesting point of not being vulnerable, because he's still shocking, he's still crude, he's still very, just very rash, on stage.
It's a good way.
I'm sure he has, his reasons for doing that, but there's just no vulnerability anymore. Right. At one point, it was a gimmick. It worked. It was like, great, this is shocking. And then it just fell off. And and they interviewed him, and I was just like, man, you never looked into yourself. You never showed a side of yourself that allowed people in on what was really going on. And I think that's what people eventually want from people that they really enjoy watching. I think
Yeah.
that. I could be wrong. There's
I
a
agree with
million
you.
TikTokers right now that are famous that are just doing gimmicky kind of things
Yeah.
that don't necessarily show any level of vulnerability. But anyway, that's my little speech.
Well, I agree
about
with
that.
you. I think it adds a lot of depth and a unique perspective and understanding of why someone says what they're saying, and a human element of, oh, okay, I get this. That's why that's funny, because sometimes you need to understand. It's like why you're funny with your friends because they know you.
Yeah.
The audience does not know you unless they're a huge fan, and even then they don't really know you. So you're with a room of strangers, and like you talk about your inner workings, and it's all about that personal connection of being a human being, and that we are a part of something bigger, and that, hey, like, while we aren't all on the same wavelength, but we can, this is orbital mechanics I'm talking here. Everybody knows about it. Sometimes you got to slow down to speed up, and sometimes you got to speed up, slow down. But you have to make sure people understand if they don't know you.
Well, it was interesting because they also highlighted Jim Carrey in this documentary, and Jim Carrey was a guy who just goes deeper and deeper and deeper into who he is. He was a guy who just did impressions, and at the time, the vulnerability was like this 19 to 22-year-old kid who was just break his stage fright and get up there and do all these crazy, like phenomenal physical impressions. And then it was, I want to go deeper and I want to be a real comic. I want to talk about, not like a real comic, but a comic that gets really vulnerable and very, in his heart. And then it was like, I want my acting to show this. And then anyway, I say all that to also mention Norm Macdonald, who I got the fortune working with one time. I got to tell you, man, he blew me away on how vulnerable he was. First of all, we're backstage, we're in the green room, and there's a bunch of us, and it was the weekend of the Million Women's March. Do you remember that?
Yep.
It was for the hashtag Me Too movement, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I said, Norm, do you think? And by the way, we were at the Ontario Improv, and the whole place was packed, 500 people there to see Norm Macdonald. And I said, Norm, do you think it'll be funny if I go out on stage and say, I didn't know what the Women's March was. I'm from Canada. I showed up with a handful of beads. And and he goes, yeah, no, you got to do that on stage. You should do that. And I go, they're going to hate me. I'm not going to do that. So just then the waitress comes in to take the order, and he does that same joke on the waitress, and she laughs. So then he goes, oh, now you got to go do it. So I go on stage, I do the bit, and lo and behold, he was right. It worked. And then he goes on stage. I always thought Norm, he was a great writer, but just a little bit of a character-y, gimmicky kind of a guy. And then I watched him go on stage and explore a bit for 15 minutes and not get a single laugh. And I was in awe. Like, I was in I am not worthy kind of awe. Like, this dude was painting on stage. Yeah. Total vulnerable, total like, I'm just here. And these are 500 people there to see him kill, and he's not giving it to them. And this happened the week before he taped his Netflix special. Oh, wow. This guy's not working on his Netflix special a week before. He's working on new material. He's just there being an artist, trying to just explore a new comedic thought that bumped for 15 minutes. Yeah. So much so that he even acknowledged it at the end of 15 minutes. Can you imagine how long that is? That the audience is just like looking at each other. Just, I don't. Yeah,
a 2-minute bomb. A 2-minute bomb feels like 20 minutes.
Yeah, and he's doing an hour and a half. so after he's on stage, you've seen him, like he's got his laughs after 15 minutes, and people are settled in. It's like the celebrity status is worn off. Now it's just like we want to laugh. And then 15 minutes somewhere inside that set, 0 laughs. To the point that at the end he just goes, I'm aware that I've been talking for 15 minutes and I've got a single laugh. And that gets a couple of chuckles and gets some people back. But there's people going like, what is this? I don't understand.
What are we doing here? Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm in the back of the room watching this going, this man is an artist. This man is... I cannot believe that the responsibility that this guy has, in my mind, to his fans, to the improv, to the money he's making tonight, to the people who've paid top dollar at the door to see him, and he cares about none of it. and he doesn't even care about his Netflix special in that moment. He's just, I got this idea and I want to flesh it out as much as I can. So I was blown away by that level of vulnerability. And ever since this past weekend, I've really been thinking about my level of writing and where I want it to go and hit that kind of vulnerability. It's just really interesting to me. And then watching this documentary, it's just really, really amazing. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's really.
No, I'm going to watch it. Let me ask you this. What parts of your act currently that you've done in any time involve you being vulnerable about something in your life that was perhaps a hurtful experience?
It's, you know, being there, there's a lot about, you know, my growings with women, my relationships with women throughout my years of life, and experiencing rejection or neglect, or that's always been very hurtful, but I've talked about that. But when I started off, I was angry about it, and I was more attacking in a way. And, you know, like I remember, this joke didn't last in my act, but I remember having a breakup and just feeling really rejected. And I wrote this joke where I said, you know, it really bothers me when guys call women bitches. I find that incredibly demeaning towards dogs. I think that, you know, and yeah, it was, and it was a joke that I had written in my anger. And then I realized that I'm not being fair to women. I'm not giving them a side. I'm just, you know, so I understand that there's been an evolution of that. So
you got to rework it, right? Like you realize it's coming from like you're just venting anger at someone else. And you're like, well, the concept is there because there's a misdirect, but I need to change this so I'm not focused on one, because clearly you're focused on one person with that, right?
I was, yeah. I remember writing things like I remember gaining some notoriety in Canada and some success, and I remember thinking to myself, you know, I still have revenge fantasies of some of the women I went to high school with. Like I want to kill them with kindness. I want to pick them up.
Well, I just said that last part.
Yeah, I want to kill them with kindness. I do. I want to call them up. I want to say, "Hey, it's been years. Let's go out. I want to pick her up in a limo. I want to have flowers waiting for her and some champagne in the back. I want to take her to a 5-star dinner. I want to have the chef personally greet us at the table to a 5-course meal. As I'm dressed, and I'm wearing $1,000 at a very minimum worth of clothes." And then take her out to a beautiful club afterwards and just show her and just basically shower her with just an amazing time and just rub her nose in the piss of my success. And that's the joke. And there was a lot of anger and frustration there. And there was vulnerability there, but it's not, it wasn't likable, you know? So
let me ask a question real quick here, buddy. So you got this elaborate fantasy, which everyone has at some point, about you want your ex to see you doing so well, and you want this elaborate thing. In your case, all I'm imagining is you've ordered this $1,000 bottle of champagne, and finally you hear the words that you want to hear. Wow, Dylan, you're doing pretty good, aren't you? You'd be like, yeah, life's pretty good. And then, as only an ex can do, she follows up with the next question. Still living with your parents?
I'm like, did you talk to Pat? Did Pat put you up to this? You check in with him?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have sucked. That would have been that would have been the break of the facade right there. But that was me writing in my 20s though. That was me writing in like when I was 25 to 28 years old, kind of.
Yeah, just angry and unresolved feelings, and
Today, I don't carry those with me. Yeah. Nora, thank you. Yes, thank you, Nora, for the emoji.
I realized that I would go on stage and I 100% accept responsibility for allowing things to happen in my life as a result of my actions and decisions not to separate myself from people. It's 100% my fault. When I was getting serious about comedy, I would get on stage and I would just rag about exes in like not a positive way. And then I realized I got to change that. Like, one, it's not fun. Yes, exes are relatable. We can all relate. But I realized I need to make the shift of attention to me, like making fun of me instead of making fun of them. And that's being vulnerable of saying like, wow, I'm an idiot. Like I'm such a, like, I allowed my ex to do all these things to me. And then when I was able to realize that, which I still struggle with from time to time, then it became funny. Then it became relatable and it became entertaining, because when it was just a rant, as I often do, I would only get a couple people who were like, and if they just happen to have, oh, that just happened to me, right? Which is why it was funny to them. But everyone else is like, this guy's just angry. This is just a chubby white guy who's angry about his ex-girlfriend, right?
Right.
And
It's a heck of a chance that one takes to be vulnerable on stage and to try to turn that into funny. I think a good example of a guy doing that today is Dave Chappelle. Right? There's a guy that talks about pain in a funny way.
yeah,
But it's very difficult to do that because, and so this is another example of Sam Kinison, who was able to express inside of the emotion, not divorce himself from it and then be objective about it, but really be right inside. And that was like something no one had ever seen before. And that's kind of like what I'm trying to do. Just, I'm not going to scream about it the way he did. Because when I did that set this past weekend, I was right in the moment. As soon as I decided to break from the script, really, and like, okay, we're going to do this again, I brought everybody inside my brain. I brought them in the nerves, the failure of it, the desperation.
Yeah.
And that to me is like, I don't even know if eventually the writing can get to that, because I've been vulnerable on stage before, and it's awesome. There's really there's something oddly powerful about it.
That's amazing.
So, yeah, I watched this other documentary. It was a docu-series this week that just, man, it was heartbreaking and inspiring all at the same time. And it's called Love on Spectrum. And it's basically people with autism trying to find love. They're dating other people with autism. And the amazing thing, I don't know if you're familiar with people with autism, but they just process things very differently than people without autism. And they're taking this chance, and they're being vulnerable. They know that they have a condition. They're aware of it. It's a very odd thing to understand that they're different, but to still go about it and do it anyway. Am I making sense?
100%.
It's like they had a coach. They had this like love coach, and as this love coach is because you see them kind of go out on the date. You see these people with autism go out and date, and they're struggling for conversation. They're struggling to find questions. They sometimes shut down right in the middle and just going, I need a minute. And I'm thinking to myself, watching, I'm pretty sure I have autism. I'm pretty sure this is me. The wonderful thing is that it's like how much in common we really have. It's like the same thing.
Yeah.
So it really touched me, and I got more interested in people with autism because of just how vulnerable they are to the whole world. They don't understand sarcasm. They don't, or unless someone teaches it to them. And so like people, they can be very naive, which I have felt very naive growing up, that I've had to learn. So I identified a lot with this stuff, and it was just very moving. I wanted to plug that because
well, I'd like to say that I watched a fictional series that has nothing to do at all with any of the wonderful stuff you just shared, but there is one line that's applicable, and it was the series Ted Lasso on Apple TV. Jason Sudeikis is phenomenal, and he says, "Don't judge people, be curious about people." And what you're saying is, and that it ties into vulnerability as well. Of like, there's populations of people that other people tend to judge. Be curious and learn, as you just demonstrated. You're learning something new. You saw this; it's opened your world. Being vulnerable is at the same time, and it's good. That's the only tie-in I got to what you were just saying right there about that particular series, which I understand.
The thing that reached to me about it was the level of its vulnerability. Is that they still have these people putting themselves out there to try to find love and to be completely open and honest. They don't have a filter. They have to learn to have a filter. Like, let's say you're with someone in the room with autism and something smells. They could go, "Oh, it's you probably farted." And
Yeah.
you'd be like, "No, I didn't." And they'd be, "Oh, okay." And they're not trying to be bullyish. They're not trying to be mean. It's just how they've processed it. Like, well, what else could it be right now? So they just say it. And someone might have to come along and correct them and go, that's not a polite thing to say. And then they just learn that as, okay, that's not a polite thing to say. They actually have a script in their minds when they're dating. Someone sits down and they go, "Hi, so what are your hobbies?" And they go right into it, meeting someone brand new, just like that, because that's what they're taught. So they understand things very literally.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's me. I had a love coach. When I was growing up, I met my buddy who became a mentor, and he coached me in comedy too. His name was Daryl Lennox, and he taught me a lot about women and how they think and what values they're looking for.
Real quick before we get too far on Daryl, you set us up with 5 minutes of how you hated all your exes and the women that you dated in the exact time frame that you said old Daryl taught you ways of life. So a little confusing right now.
Well, because I still struggled. First of all, high school and university was a complete write-off when it came to women. I mean, I literally started experiencing women the way I wanted when I was 21. So I had zero high school experiences with women, no level of intimacy, and the first 2 years of university, nothing, constantly rejected. And I tried a lot. It was only bombing, bombing.
Yeah.
So it was when Daryl came along, he knew a lot about it, and he was just like this wizard. I've never seen anybody understand women the way he did, and how he could seduce them in certain ways or get in their heads, and they would become attracted to him. Now. So he taught me these things, and they started to work, and I was blown away.
Buddy, we got to take a minute here. We got to rewrite. We need to rewrite on how you say that. Well, just the way he seduced them and got into their heads. And he taught me all that so I could do it. That, as a clip by itself, not a good thing for you to be saying, man.
Okay.
Understanding, compassion, comfort,
of course,
vulnerability.
Yes,
those are the things that you want to go for, buddy.
I learned that as an artist, and definitely no one got hurt. Of course, it was all all in,
2 minutes left. 2 minutes.
2 minutes left. Okay, well, I have some fun facts here. I know this show had its got off the rails moments, but
we got into it. My internet dropped. I apologize, first time watchers. Please know we are both curious people. We love learning. We love being educated properly on all the topics that we thought up. And remember, there's always just a hint of just humor and good fun to try and find common ground so we can all laugh about it and be like, look at these two idiots on comedy and crumpets. Neither they don't have comedy and they don't have crumpets, but they do have some deep-rooted feelings about some things that they don't seem to know that much about. That's what we should read.
Yes, that's two idiots that really don't understand themselves is basically what
that's it. Now for the fun facts in our last 2 minutes.
Fun facts. Okay, this is interesting. Where are my fun facts here? Yes. Did you know this? That you are more likely to be killed by a champagne cork than a poisonous spider. Oh. So if you're ever in the jungle, beware of alcoholics. Okay?
Next one. Do it again.
You know, when Thomas Edison died in 1941, Henry Ford captured his dying breath in a bottle. Pretty sure Henry Ford killed Edison with a bottle.
Hey, look at that. Ray Turner, no renaming the show about crumpets especially. You're all right,
okay.
Ray.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Turner.
Wow,
yes, that's true.
To close us out.
Is this my okay? If this is the last one, then I want to do. There was a time when 4 distinct human species lived at the same time. Can you believe that? I know someone from the South just heard me say that. Went, yeah, I know, white, black, Chinese, and Hispanic. But no, it was actually different. No, okay, never mind.
I think the internet went out.
Did the internet go out on that one? Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm going to tell myself. The point is, not all my fun facts end up in a punchline. But here's the thing. This, are we done? Do we have this?
Yeah,
Is,
let's
we have
close
to
it
go?
out. I want to hand over. I want to say I appreciate that you brought this clip and you showed it. And today we got to talk about the vulnerability amongst the many topics we discussed. But I think to me, it's honestly that's a difference maker for comedians. There's only a few comedians that I can think of that like Mitch Hedberg. You're like, okay, we're not really getting to know him, but you kind of are just because of his general nature. But like, there's just a few. And then the rest, it's like, for me, I want to know about him. I want to try and understand because it makes it relatable and funny. And I think it's empathetic, it's sympathetic, it's all in one. And I'm so glad that you wanted to do this for today's show. So thank you very much, Dylan.
Thank you. And thank you to everybody that joined us today for Comedy and Crumpets. Thank you, Nora. It's so wonderful to have new viewers and from all over the world. It's incredible. We are back here next Thursday, 11 p.m. UK time, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and 4 p.m. Mountain Time. If you would like to follow Pat Treuer here, find him on Instagram at RealFunnyPat. And if you want to follow me on Instagram and TikTok, I'm at Dylan Comic. Thank you again, you guys. Have a very safe week, and hope to see you again next week.
Excellent. Nice job, buddy. Thanks for watching, everybody.